for a lot of people there. Good evening. Thank you very much for making the effort to join our webinar on to rural project and especially Apple Archer. Today on the panel we have Ryan Wilson, we have Ken Pierce, Charles Haim, and Mark Woodenberg, who's there. Um, if you're struggling to join the webinar, please get in touch with a member of our team that can give you a direct access link. Just to give you a bit of a flow of the webinar, I'll just do a very brief introduction. Then you're going to hear a presentation from the team. And the whole idea is actually to listen to you in terms of what you're looking for an EB-5 project. And you can ask us a number of questions. Is Paul there as well? Sorry, Paul's there. Okay, Paul's there. Great. Okay, brilliant. Paul's there as well to also answer a number of legal questions. Let me kindly introduce myself, Sam Hussein, Director for BLS. We've helped hundreds and hundreds of family invest, in the US via the EB-5 program in order to get the green card. We do a lot of due diligence on a number of projects before we start presenting that to our network and audience. And today, of course, you want to hear more about the project and why it's becoming very popular for a number of investors. If you are on a H1B, you're on F1, OTP, I'm sure you're probably looking around for various options in terms of how to secure your green card and, of course, make sure you invest in the right project. You're not really here to listen to me and myself, but you're really here to listen from Mark, Ken, and their team and why we've selected their project as a very good project for our niche audience that are looking for EB-5. So without further ado, I'd really like Mark, I guess, to take over and introduce the team and really explain to us about this project and why it's very suitable for a number of investors that are based in the US.
Great. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it. Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time, and I hope we're going to be able to share some important information with you and answer some questions. I'm Mark Weintraub. I'm the Managing Director of the West Virginia Regional Center. I'm also the Managing Director of the Apple Mountain EB-5 program. And we're happy to introduce you today to an exciting EB-5 investment opportunity, the Apple Mountain KYLP opportunity at Appalachia Orchards. I have a lot of folks joining us today, and that's really indicative of how exciting this project is and what a great investment opportunity it is. We did a seminar earlier this morning, mostly aimed at folks overseas. This evening's program is more designed for folks that are stateside, but either wherever you are, we're here for you. We're here to answer your questions and see how we can help you and see if this is a good match for you. So whether you're new to the EB-5 program or actively seeking an eligible project, today's session is designed to give you some key insights about the Orchard Expansion Project, some benefits of investing through the EB-5 program, maybe a little bit of information about the Trump card, and get things moving along. So first, just quickly, let me introduce you. First is Ken Pierce. Ken is also a managing director at the Regional Center and in this project. He is a licensed commercial real estate broker, former economic development official, and U.S. Army officer, reserve officer. Paul Ruby is been practicing law for over 20 years in the business immigration space. He has been advising and working on our program for years, so he's intimately involved in it, intimately familiar with it, and can help answer virtually any questions. We have Charles Haim with us. He's the CEO of Appalachia Orchards, so he's got great information to share about the history of the project and how it works. And then we have Ryan Wilson, the COO for Appalachia Orchards. He is the one that's on the ground and making sure that everything goes perfectly as we develop this orchard. So let's start with the project itself. Charles, can you give us a project overview and talk about some recent, a little bit of history and a little bit of recent developments?
Absolutely, Mark. Thank you very much. And thank everybody for participating in the call. I got to give you a little bit about my background. I'm actually the CEO of an insurance company that writes coal reclamation bonds. And that's how we get here today. Basically, we wrote some bonds and we ended up inheriting some land And we were trying to figure out about 5 years ago, what can we do with all this land? If you think there's two types of mining, there's strip mining, which is basically slicing off the mountain, and then there's underground mining. So you can look at elevation for apples. Ideally, you want to be at 1,200 to 1,800 feet above sea level. Where these strip mines are right in that range for being optimal for growing apples. And so as a result, talking to USDA, who is our partner, that's our agriculture department, Patriot Gardens in West Virginia, we determined that apples was the way to go. Because long before coal, a lot of these communities were very heavily in agriculture to begin with. So it really kind of coming back to where the history had taken them years ago. If you look at apples today, you look at states like Washington, which clearly dominates, and then you have New York and Michigan. So they're well established, but they have more severe weather conditions for the most part. One of the advantages that we have great soil, all those good things that you need. But the biggest advantage that we have is water. The underground mines literally fill up with water. And the strip mines are above those. So basically, we've piped into those underground mines, and we have access to millions and millions and millions of gallons of water. So our irrigation system basically comes from the underground mine to feed the water to the apples. So we're pretty excited about that. That is a really big deal. Also, if you look at the USDA's website, we're in the ideal area for agriculture. And that deals with the weather, that deals with all kinds of things that you look to for being optimal for growing things. And we are right in the sweet spot in terms of the area that we're looking at. It's very, very important that to have the community involvement. We have colleges, we have University of Kentucky, University of West Virginia. We have the USDA, as I said, as a major partner. We have Patriot Gardens, which is a nonprofit in West Virginia that's growing apples for the veterans in the country. So we've aligned ourselves with all the right expertise. And Ryan has learned a tremendous amount from those people, and he stays in contact with them. So the bottom line is, investing in apples, it's not just a smart agricultural thing, it's a smart business decision. We started the journey in basically back prior to 21, but around that time frame, that we had to say, all right, let's see if this works. We had a hypothesis. We kind of figured this will work in other areas. So we decided to do 60 acres. We planted 120,000 trees. We have high density, 21 inches apart, 10 feet apart rows. And what the really the advantage of doing that was we now knew exactly what we were going to get into. And there were challenges, but we've overcome those challenges. And now we know how to deal with all this in a much different way. So we've kind of eliminated all the bumps that you might have, and we're poised and ready to go. What is the ultimate goal here? The ultimate goal is to grow 1,000 acres, 2 million trees. And if you do an estimate of 1 bushel per tree, which is low, and 42 pounds in a bushel, that's about 84 million pounds of apples. And if you only had 65 or 75% production, you'd be at about 63 million. That's a lot of apples to have. So we're pretty excited about that. But the thing that's most important is our pack house. We've been able to secure about $12 million in grants plus private investment to complete a state-of-the-art pack house. And that's actually in the process. The building's been built. We've already did bids, got all the machinery picked out. We got everything going. They're working on the insides, getting that done. And what does that do? That allows us to take the apples from the field to the pack house to the market. And when I say market, I'm talking about the Walmarts of the world, places like that, the local grocery stores. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities. And if you look at our location, we're within 3 to 4 hours of about 40 million people. So we really feel that when we brand our apples and we make the world know that these are Appalachian apples grown on closed coal mine, reutilizing this beautiful land, it really is a great deal of excitement. So we're pretty excited about going forward with this. Our next phase will be 70 acres. That'll be 140,000 trees. And all of our projections, quite frankly, are estimating about 1 bushel a tree. And if you look at a dwarf tree, which these are, you should be able to easily get 2 bushels when they're fully matured. So we're pretty excited about getting this done. I know that the job creation is a big deal and something that must be dealt with. There is no problem whatsoever here. We got plenty of job creation. There should be no issues with that whatsoever. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Mark, and we'll go from there.
Great. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate you giving
Okay.
us that update and hitting the highlights on the business plan. I mean, really, at the end of the day, this project is a pretty simple project. Um, buy sapling apple trees, plant sapling apple trees, let them grow, and then sell the apples for money. Use that money to pay the investors back. So let's talk about how that really simple business ties into the EB-5 Immigrant Investor Program. The EB-5 program allows eligible investors to obtain U.S. green cards by investing $800,000 in a qualified project in a TEA or targeted employment area like Appalachia Orchards. Now, Appalachia Orchards is not just a TEA, it's also rural. Why is rural a big deal? Well, there are major advantages of rural EB-5 projects. No, one of the strongest features here is that this rural designation gives priority processing to anybody who applies for their EB-5 through the Appalachia program. Rural EB-5 projects receive expedited review by USCIS. That means faster processing and a faster path to a green card. It means no visa backlogs. There are no cutoff dates for rural projects, even for applicants that are from China or from India. You make your application goes to processing right away. No waiting period, no retrogression. Um, Immediate visa availability and concurrent adjustment of status for those who are in the US. Yes, it takes some months for these to be processed. We're looking probably 6 to 8 months at a minimum for them to be processed and then go through adjustment of status. But you can get there and you can get there fast with this program. Also, by being rural and by being in the TEA, you get to invest $800,000 instead of $1,050,000 as the other EB-5 programs might have. So you have a lower entry cost for the same immigration benefit. And let me just footnote for quickly right here, because we're going to talk some more about it later. But the Trump card is $1 million per individual, and that $1 million never comes back. It's a fee, and that's the end of it. Here, the investment is $800,000, and it is fully expected that $800,000 will be paid back to you as an investor, along with some interest. Finally, for EB-5, you have long-term policy support. Congress has been supporting the EB-5 program for decades, and especially these rural designations. You know, the United States Congress is at its heart a rural legislature. They love rural things. They like to support rural America. This program does that. This program is not going away. It's not going to be reversed. There's no way Congress is going to take it away. It does expire at the end of September of 2026. It may be extended, but as long as you file your application before the end of September, you're grandfathered. As long as it takes to get processed, you're still in line. So the bottom line, rural doesn't mean remote. It means your petition is prioritized, your cost is lower, and your future is more secure. Now, Ken, can you walk us through the investment structure and how it supports a path to permanent residency?
Sure. Yeah. One of the things we really liked about this project and attracted us to it is it's really low risk in nature. It creates a huge amount of jobs and it's an existing business. So it's not a concept. This is actually 60 acres in the ground, 120,000 trees producing cash flow right now. And the business model is really simple. We're going to expand that orchard up to 1,000 acres. What's great is right now, all the investors is all private equity investors, which means us as a limited partnership, as we pool your money together, we're actually in a secured loan position. which means we have a first lien on the land, the orchard, all the equipment, and as the orchard expands, that lien will also expand. And finally, we've already done the heavy lifting and the hard work, and we've taken the risk to make sure that this project has already been reviewed by USCIS. It's been reviewed, it's been approved, and it's completely compliant. So this is why we're excited to bring this project to the market, and we hope you feel the same excitement as we do. So thank you.
So before we turn to questions, let's just hit a couple of the real highlights of this program and what's so important about it. Number one, it's rural, so we know we have priority processing. Number two, this project has already been approved by USCIS. That means that USCIS has reviewed the business plan, the economist's report, everything that has to do with this project, the regional center, the history of the regional center, the people who are involved in it at Appalachia, like Charles and Ryan, all of that already approved. So the only piece that people need to get approved is when they apply is source of funds. That's the most significant thing to worry about right now. So we have project approval. We have a rural designation for priority processing. We know that this is a simple economic project. Plant trees, grow apples, sell apples, repay investors. Simple program. We know that this is a loan so that it gets paid back. It's clear how it gets paid back. We get paid back first before anybody else gets paid back. And we have a first lien position in all the assets. So if something goes wrong, the investors can step in, find a new operator to run the apple orchard, and be off and running. We have a great job cushion here. We didn't just try to squeeze 10 jobs per investor. We have far more than 10 jobs for every investor. And again, all that's already been approved. So as long as you make your investment with money that's approved by USCIS, and that money gets spent to buy the trees, grow the trees, sell the apples, then approval should be no issue. All right, those are my highlights. Sam, how about we do some Q&A?
I never thought you'd ask. Okay. So we have a few. Okay, as we know, this is a rural project from Esan. What are the timelines that we're seeing approvals for this project? For rural projects, what are the timelines?
Yeah, so right now the rural projects, for the most part, it looks like are getting action from USCIS on the I-526E in something like 8 months in most cases, 7 or 8 months. Now, that assumes rural, like we said, that assumes the project's been pre-approved. If you look in the 2022 law change, it said basically USCIS is not going to pick up an I-526E until we have approved the underlying, project application on that. So, if you go into a rural project that's been pre-approved, we're seeing something like 7, 8 months most of the time now. You do see people out there who get them in 4 months. That's very, very fortunate. You're probably not going to be that lucky, though we'd be very, very happy, and you would do if you are. It could be a year. That's what we're looking about. But many of you at this hour are going to be in the U.S. What that means is, we all have access to the same information in the Visa Bulletin. Many of you are on here because of the information found in the Visa Bulletin, quite frankly. And when it looks like you may be eligible to file for an adjustment of status based on, an approved I-140. And it's too far off and it's uncomfortable, right? So, with this, through at least January 31, we have the ability to concurrently file a Form I-526E based on the EB-5 at the same time as your adjustment of status, your EAD, and what they call advanced parole or your travel permission. The way I kind of have been telling people to look at these recently is in something like 3 months after filing these applications and petitions together, you're most likely to have, the EAD and what they call the advanced parole in your hand. We go another 6 months down the road, we kind of do this in quarters. right? So now you're 9 months from the beginning. Hopefully the I-526E, is approved, or at a minimum, maybe you get some additional questions. Almost certainly not about the project, just about source of funds and things like that. If they do come up and USCIS wants to, peek under the hood or whatever, but we're at 9 months to that. Then generally about 3 additional months past that until the green card arrives. So as we're sitting here now, we could be talking about having a green card in our hand, a year from now, 13 months from now, something like that.
That's great. Question for how many jobs per investors is on the economic report?
Right about 11 and a half, Sam. Right about 11 and a half jobs per investor.
Mhm.
And I note that somebody's also asking, when do we get our money back in this project? It's a great question. The way that we have the economic modeling set up is that everybody gets paid back in year 5. The developers do have a right to extend that for 2 1-year periods. So it could go to year 6 or year 7, but we expect year 5 to be the time that money gets paid back. Money can be paid back from any one of 3 different sources. The most likely thing that happens is after year 5, these apples have been growing, they've been harvested, they've been sold. So now there's a provable stream of cash flow that will lend itself to being able to go out and refinance the EB-5 loan pretty easily with a United States Department of Agriculture loan or a other rural type of financing at a significantly lower interest rate than the investors paying for the EB-5 loans. So, or that the developer's paying for the EB-5 loans. So we would expect a refinancing at year 5, which would pay off the investors. It's entirely possible that this project becomes so valuable that the developers decide to sell it at that time. If they did, the first people who get paid with the money, with the proceeds from the sale, are the investors. So the investors would get paid back at that time. Or, once you really take a hard look at the economic modeling here and the business plan and the pro forma financial statements, you can actually see that there's enough money left over just from the sale of apples to pay investors back in year 5. So we could just get paid back from operations as well. So 3 different sources, pretty easy to see, and we don't expect that to be at all of an issue.
Great. Um, um, who is the developer and the developer's history on this project?
Oh, great question. So our developer here is Charles Ham and Ryan Wilson, who are here with us today. These guys have developed large projects all around the country of all sorts. This is their first apple orchard. So, not surprisingly, Charles and Ryan and their team have gone out and found experienced apple orchard operators to help them with this. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about Bruce Rash, Charles?
Yes. Yeah. Bruce Rash, Apple Quest up in Michigan, they have about 1,000 acres of apples. Their Bruce, I think, is 6th generation, and then his children are there as well. And they were very instrumental in offering expertise. They currently own 20% of the project, so they're committed. And also, again, we have University of Kentucky, USDA. We have people that really want this project to work, and they're at our beck and call when we need them. So, we've put the surrounding people together. I personally, business-wise, I've taken 2 companies public very successfully. I've done a bank revolving line of credit of $250 million, a consortium of banks. So I've done some pretty big deals in my days.
Yeah.
Great.
And then, on the EB-5 experience side, you have the regional center here, which is myself and Ken and Paul Ruby. Paul has administered, hundreds, over 800 EB-5 cases in his career. For Ken and I, we've been running the West Virginia Regional Center for over a decade now. This is our 3rd project. We've not had a single 526 be rejected. We've had a few withdrawn because investors have decided to withdraw, but we've never had one rejected. We have a number of 829, so permanent green cards are pending. And all of our projects have been on the up and up, and we were one of the first regional centers to be reauthorized after the law was redone a few years ago. So we feel very comfortable in our standing as one of the best regional centers in the country.
Excellent. I don't want to talk too much on some of the questions about the loan. I know some people are asking. So in terms of the loans, we're going to have a private consultation for you about the financing option. I know there's some people asking questions about if they can do partial funding or 200 now and 200 late. What would you recommend, Paul and the team, for people that are looking for partially, or would you recommend?
Yeah, no, look, this is an important question because I think one of the things we haven't even gotten to, but everyone here, seems to know pretty well what we're talking about, right? Is that we have got a fairly firm deadline coming up next September. And so people are wanting to get in, understandably, about getting their cases in, getting their spot in the queue, and so on and so forth. But anyway, this issue of partial funding right now, no one that I'm aware of is still accepting it on the regional center side, on the developer side, on the project sponsor side. It's too dangerous to let people in because USCIS, some of these cases, they're not even asking questions. They're not even asking for requests for evidence. They're just denying them. Now, there are loan cases that have worked in the past. There are loan cases that, BLS Media is happy to speak with you about and the possibility here. Those are plausible at this case, but they're definitely in USCIS's, vision, frankly, for what they don't like, for what they're concerned about right now. So we want to be very, very careful. If we need to explore the loan as a last resort, I think that's possible. I can tell you right now, having spoken about it with Mark and Ken, Charles, Ryan, everyone in recent months, we've never accepted a partial funding case. We thought it was too reckless, frankly, all along. We're not going to start accepting one now that we know it's a little bit harder. And USCIS is really, really against these partial funding cases. We could get into the intricacies of why. But, quite honestly, for you, you're better off not filing an EB-5 case than doing it with partial funding at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, let me just try to clarify this really simply. From our perspective, one of the reasons that we think we provide an excellent EB-5 program is because we are reducing people's risk, right? We have project approval, significant risk reduction right there. We're rural. You get priority processing, no long time periods before your stuff's going to get processed. That reduces your risk. Partial funding is a huge risk right now. It's a bad idea. We're not going to do it because it's not good for you and it's not good for us. I really, really like having a completely clean record on EB-5 applications. The fact that not a single one that's ever been run through West Virginia Regional Center has been denied is a fact that I like a lot. And I'm not interested in taking risk to put our reputation at risk. So we're not doing partial funding cases. We'll talk with you about the loan, right? I mean, we have some ways to get that done, but that's a risk factor right now. And it's a risk factor that's changing on a regular basis. I felt like it went from being very low risk a few months ago to something that's a little riskier now. And, I'm not sure that I really would recommend it to somebody. If somebody really wants to do it, understands the risks, we'll talk about it. But partial funding, no. Loan, maybe. Talk to Sam, and then we'll figure out a way to have a conversation about it.
And one of the critical things I think on this is that one of the law changes we know is going to be implemented effective the 1st of October next year is the increase to the investment amount. It's tied to something called the Consumer Price Index. We've had a lot of inflation. Inflation impacts. It's what drives the consumer price index, and some economists much smarter and well versed on that stuff than I am, and I know it pretty well, have said they think the investment amount is going to be somewhere like $935,000 starting next October 1st for the same investment unit. And so, if someone's going in with a loan, like, look, every immigration lawyer thinks USCIS on these loans where cash is truly going in before a 526E is filed. Everyone thinks USCIS is being way too aggressive. Ultimately, once the administrative appeals conclude and people can litigate it, it seems more probable than not that USCIS will lose, and the things they've been pushing for have been, too much and beyond what the rules require. But we have to balance, that of, like, do we want to be a right or do we want to get approved? And I think we all want to get approved more than we want to be right. And you have this situation with the impending investment amount, rising, and then like these old cases, or these, whatever they be, current cases with the loans, where it's going to like go beyond that, and untying the knot, is going to be very, very difficult, if not impossible. So, with the loans right now, we feel confident that the people we do have with them in, when all is said and done, will be approved. There'll be no issue. We think most of the loan programs out there are entirely compliant with the rules. Some that we've heard of, it sounds like they maybe were not. And there are ways to do this, but it is a risk right now. And like Mark said, we have a track record, all of us together and individually. We don't want to, invite these risks. And I think more than that, like, we don't want disappointed people. If someone goes in with a loan and they know the risks, it's still the issue of like the loan is what's going to be, causing the denial. It's going to be hard to get. The unit would have to be replaced. It wouldn't just get to be pulled out. It's
Okay.
just too big of a risk right now, unless it's an absolute last resort.
Yeah, I want to move on to the project rather than loan. Let's talk about the capital stack. And obviously, under the RRA, we know there's discussions about some projects offering 2 years. Why are we doing 6 years? So there is there is a stabilization period. Can we talk about the capital stack and also the repayment period?
Okay, capital stack, super easy. Charles and his development team have already put $9 million into this project. From there, the capital stack is us, the EB-5 investors. We've already put a couple $1 million in. There's a lot more to come. We have about 50 more spots available in the original 63 that we started with. And because we are the sole, well, not the sole, but because we are the only lender into this project behind the $9 million of equity, that puts us in a power position as the lender to be in charge of what's happening. So we're very, very comfortable with that position, with our first lien position, with the fact that we get paid back first when there's a refinancing or a sale, or if there's enough operating capital to pay us. So, you really come at this making a loan and coming at it from a power position. That's how our capital stack works. This whole deal is designed to be super simple. Lend money to the developer buys the trees, plants the trees, the apples grow, the apples get sold, the money gets collected, the loan gets repaid. The fact that there are some people that are out there, some programs right now saying they're going to pay people back in 2 years, I can't control other people's programs. They are what they are. I know what our program is. Our program is 5 years because we need time to plant the trees. We need time to let those trees grow and mature and grow apples, and then prove that they sell apples into the marketplace and repay our lenders. And that's a 5-year window.
Great. Can you tell us a bit more about your experience on EB-5 as well?
So look, from an EB-5 perspective, as I've said, Ken and I formed the West Virginia Regional Center and had it approved back in 2013. We've done real estate projects in Ohio. We've done an important social project in West Virginia, and now we're doing this project with Appalachia. This project is really, really close and important to Ken and I because we believe so firmly in the future of agriculture in the in the Appalachian region, in the middle of this country, in places where it's been a little more difficult for people in their lives. We believe heavily in utilizing EB-5 for rural projects. It's always been part of our mantra. We've never been somebody who wants to do big, huge apartment or condo towers in the middle of downtowns as an EB-5 project. We're trying to help the community at the same time as help investors. And like I said, we've never had a 526 rejected. We have 829s that are pending, no issues going on there. And we have project approval, 3 different projects we've gotten approved now. This is the biggest and the best one of them, and we're going to get this filled up because everybody's got to get their applications in by September 30th. The closer that people apply to September 30th, the longer the wait's going to get. The reason I say that is because there's going to be a rush for people to invest before this program potentially expires in September 30th of 2026. As that date gets closer and closer, people's applications are going to become more rushed. They're going to get sloppier. They're not going to be as good. And USCIS is going to look at them even more carefully with more scrutiny. So getting your application done perfectly, getting it done early, and getting it in before this rush is going to help ensure that your green card application really does get approved, does get through the system and get approved in that 4 to 6 to 8 months that we're talking about. If we start worrying about filing if we're worrying about filing August 15th or September 1st, we're probably going to be looking at closer to 10 months, 12 months before those green card applications start to get approved.
I want to get Ryan involved. Ryan, in terms of harvest, because you dealt with a lot of the logistical sides. Ryan, do you want to say a few words?
Just speaking on the success of the orchard so far, growing fruit. This year we had a good season. We were able to send produce out into the as fresh produce to marketplaces such as Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Aldi, and Food Line. So we had a successful year of going into the marketplace as fresh fruit, and look forward to next year.
Excellent. I don't want to answer a lot of these finance questions because we've answered them. I don't know if there's anything else stands out for you on the Q&A or on the chat feature. Just looking.
No, I think we've got everybody who's got questions on there. I think we've taken care of, and I would just invite folks to get in touch with Sam and his team at BLS. If you're interested in doing this, we're interested in speaking with you and working with you. BLS is excellent at figuring out what the issues are and how to organize them. Um, so we would really look forward to speaking with you. We are intimately involved in intimately familiar working with investors from India, or folks of Indian descent. So, happy to work with them. We understand source of funds issues and money coming from India and that system. So none of that's going to be a challenge to us. Sam, what's the best way that you want folks to be connecting to you?
We're going to send a survey and we're going to reach out to you as well as you can reach out to the Apple Ultra team and get in touch with one of our investor engagement team. And which Mark really said, because one of the biggest concerns for a lot of investors is the source of funds. The project has a 9956F approval. The documentations are there. We pretty much want to work with you and with your CA and as well as Paul on getting those documentations because that's the key. Because everything's ready on the project side. It's pretty much getting everything ready on your side. So yeah, connect with us on WhatsApp, on emails, and really we're happy to have another private consultation if there's some questions you felt that hasn't been answered during this webinar. But I'm sure there's going to be plenty more. I've seen investors, they start with 1 or 2 questions, and then suddenly they have a whole list of questions, and that's what we want. And it's not a quick process. Of course, we want it to be a quick process, but I'm sure there's going to be multiple Zooms or multiple meetings that you probably want to have with us, and feel free, and we're happy to do that. And just really want to inform the viewers here, there's very limited and good rural projects out in the market. We've done a lot of homework and due diligence on this. It's really important that we understand, one, you want to get your green card, you want to get your money back. And of course, you've got to understand we've been doing this for 2 decades. What does that mean? We get referrals. If we get referrals, that means we place people into good project. We want to associate BLS with good projects. So therefore, it's not just you filing, you're actually going to start recommending friends and families. And that's actually how we progress in this industry. I don't know if Ken and Mark want to add something to this, but I think we've answered a lot, and BLS team is happy to answer your
Yeah.
question quickly.
I just want to say, the informed investor for us is the best investor. So we like it when people are asking questions. We like it when we're having 2 or 3 discussions with folks because they think of questions after they've asked their first set of questions. We want you to know everything you can possibly know about this project, feel as comfortable as we do with the success of this project, and know that this is a great path to a green card.
No, good. I'm just gonna put your email address, Mark, on the chat and ask. I don't know, Ken, do you want to add anything?
Oh, I can go ahead and do that on the screen. Hold on a sec.
Oh, great. That's better.
There we go, right there.
Great.
Yeah, GP is General Partners. That's us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know some people have been asking me about admin fee, as well as we're going to have that discussion with you individually because we want to see your case and how quickly you want to move. Also, I think, Mark, they also want to know the preferred returns on the projects.
Simple 2% return on the project, and that's really what market is right now, and that's going to be paid. It won't start getting paid. Well, actually, it will. It'll start getting paid almost immediately. So we're ready to make those returns when people start investing, and as we get to the next quarter or the next year, we'll be making that 2% payment.
Okay. So we've got a question: is how much we need to start. Satish, I'm going to reach out to you straight away, as well as a team. We're going to send you some paperwork. What do we need, Mark? Do we need to get an NDA from them, or straight away we can send them the project doc?
No, we should. The 2 pieces of information we like to have from people before we get started in giving them a lot of the information is an NDA, and also they fill out their little investor questionnaire so we know that there's somebody who is qualified to be doing this from a securities regulation perspective. Once we have that, we feel like we're ready to have, ongoing discussions with people.
Yeah. So time to time, our team does send you an investor questionnaire just to make sure you're qualified because it is SEC regulated, and we want to make sure you understand exactly because it is a securities offering. I think the next time around we want to get a video from you guys. That's what we want to do. Get a video of the orchard, and Ryan's told us how it's been a wonderful harvest, and hopefully many more years to come, Ryan, right? So we can have some great videos.
Yeah, that is great.
Yeah. Brilliant. I think that's enough. Guys, thank you so much. It's late.
Thank you.
And I guess it's early evening. Thank you so much. I know it's been a very long day. It's a Monday. But again, we're going to be around throughout the whole Christmas and New Year period. So please feel free to get in touch with us. Yep.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
guys. Have a good night.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Everyone, thank you.
Right.